He joins us on Fridays. He is someone who knows the world of movies and music and indie films and foreign films and Marvel Universe and DC Universe and comedy and drama and tragedy and horror. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Beloved by all. He is the culture blaster, Michael Snyder. Michael, welcome.
I have never been more proud to come in on a rainbow than I am on Pride Weekend in San Francisco.
Oh, that's right. Pride Weekend in SF.
Hey, please forgive me. I'm still hungover from our super fun June Swoon virtual meet and greet last night. I must have consumed too many virtual cocktails. That must be it. But it is Pride Weekend in San Francisco, and I believe in New York City for the LGBTQ plus people and their allies, and that means revelry with rallies and celebrations like this evening's sure-to-be rollicking drag event hosted by the legendary Peaches Christ on Front Street in San Francisco, as well as various promenades and parties culminating with the big SF Pride Parade on Sunday. But as any caring, thoughtful person knows, these are perilous times for anyone who isn't white, Christian, and well-to-do. I mean, Mark, considering today's dehumanizing SCOTUS ruling, one of all too many, I have never felt that it was more necessary to be an ally. And as it happens, the two best movies I'm reviewing today are relevant to the struggles of the gay community in its myriad forms. Shall we get to it?
Yeah, let's do it, kid.
Okay, so we're going to start out with something more populist, big budget, widescreen, easing into the role of the laconic race car driver Sonny Hayes like it's a well-worn loafer. Brad Pitt is the calm center of F1, the movie. And that's one of those Jerry Bruckheimer-produced blockbusters that may be a little empty at the core, but is a rousing good time on the big, big IMAX screen. Sonny left Formula One driving many years ago after a horrific accident, but began a second career as a NASCAR racer for hire. I mean, he'll even race dune buggies in this movie. And he's content to travel from race to race until his estranged ex-teammate in Formula One, Ruben Cervantes, played by Javier Bardem, now running a faltering team, invites him to drive and serve as a mentor for the cocky rookie lead driver, Joshua Pierce, played by Damson Idris. I mean, you see where this is going immediately. I mean, talk about Formula One, you know what I mean?
You're saying it's kind of formulaic, aren't you?
Yeah. But for 2 hours plus, a lot of the time, you are in the cockpit of a Formula One car careening through these frenetic endurance races, you know, along with Brad Pitt and along with Damson Idris. And you see a lot of the necessary support that goes on. There's a bit of a romantic frisson here between Sonny and kind of an aeronautics expert played by the lovely Kerry Condon, who helps them design, you know, airfoils to make for speedier cars. By the way, Kerry Condon, wonderful in The Banshees of Inisherin and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Terrific Irish actress. This is directed by Joseph Kosinski. That's the guy who did Top Gun Maverick, Tron Legacy, and the, I guess you'd call it a Tom Cruise device called Oblivion, a sci-fi movie, and he's very good at this sort of thing. But again, there's not much to it other than the experiential, immersive wonder of being in the IMAX theater or, you know, a similarly large screen facility and kind of being in the middle of these races. So if that sounds exciting to you, Formula One, aka F1, the movie, is in theaters right now.
Okay. All
Let's move. Shall we move on?
Yeah, I have no follow-ups, Your Honor.
Okay, fine. So a period drama.
I don't want that to be interpreted as I'm not paying attention. I'm with you, Damson Idris, Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem. I'm there. Not a real anything at the core. I don't want you to interpret somehow because I don't have any questions or follow-ups that somehow I'm not paying attention, because I know you do another show and I've seen that host and he seems like he's checked out half the time. So I'm just saying.
Hang on a second. Hold on. Are you hungover from last night's meet and greet? Is that what's going on here? All right, all right, all right. Moving on. A period dramedy. This is so different from F1 of a movie. A period dramedy about a regional theater family in flux. Everything's going to be great. Benefits from two of the greatest character leads working today. Emmy winner Bryan Cranston and Oscar winner Allison Janney as husband and wife Buddy and Macy Smart, who are trying to keep their business afloat, running a regional theater while raising their two sons, Derek, who is a girl-obsessed, football-loving high schooler, and Lester, the hammy middle school theater kid who is clearly gay. Or going to be gay, or pondering being gay. I mean, it's a kid who wrote one of his book reports on the Wizard of Oz. I mean, you get where we're going here. So the Smarts face financial challenges, fallout from the family's bumpy move from the low rent stability of an Ohio theater gig to a summer residency at a New Jersey theater. And then there's the long simmering marital angst that neither Buddy nor Macy wants to confront. So all the while, Lester, the younger kid, gets these ghostly inspirational visits from the likes of Oscar Wilde, Ruth Gordon, and Tallulah Bankhead, the latter played by Broadway great Laura Benanti. You love her on the Colbert Show as Melania Trump. She is always fantastic. She plays Tallulah Bankhead in a brief segment. This is sort of wispy stuff, but the actors, including young Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as Lester, sell the hell out of it, and it wins points for its kind nature. It's directed by a very able guy, John S. Baird, who did the Stan and Ollie Laurel and Hardy biopic, and directed.
Oh yeah, that was
Tetris.
good. Actually, I like that.
And he directs Stephen Rogers' script, which is pretty decent. Again, it's kind of lightweight, but I enjoyed it. And boy, it got my mind off the miseries, despite, of course, the kid being, in all probability gay. This is not one of the two movies I was referring to, by the way. Anyway,
all right.
It's in select theaters. It's called Everything's Going to Be Great. And you can only hope, right?
Yeah.
Especially at this point in time. Okay, so one of the two movies that I wanted to highlight here is called Pony Boy. And Pony Boy is the story of an intersex sex worker who is sort of a little torn and lives in New Jersey. It's Valentine's Day, and there is a drug deal that goes wrong, and our hero or heroine, Pony Boy, is caught in the middle of this thing. And it features this fantastic performance by the screenwriter, River Gallo, who plays Pony Boy, and a little conflicted about his sexuality or their sexuality. How about that? And also dealing with being the child of immigrants who, in large part, at least the father is not on board, have kind of disowned him or derided her, however you want to put it. It is a bravura performance by River Gallo, and I thought it was powerful, impactful, very, very relevant as Pony Boy struggles with identity, with a place in the world, tries to figure out what's going on, and then there is this crackling good crime thriller happening at the same time. Actually, Dylan O'Brien plays the sort of pimp and drug dealer that kind of bosses Pony Boy around. There are other great supporting players, and the wonderful Murray Bartlett from the first season of The White Lotus plays kind of a loner type who comes into town and takes a shine to Pony Boy. It's good stuff. It really, really is. And if you get a chance to watch it, I suggest you do. It is currently in select theaters, and it is also streaming right now.
And we can just to Google, I think, to find where it's streaming.
Look around. I'm sure Google it. You'll find yourself a decent streaming platform. Quickly, very disappointed in Off the Grid, which is sort of a thriller starring Josh Duhamel and Greg Kinnear. And it's one of those things where a San Francisco tech company has access to a very, very powerful scientific formula that was developed by kind of an outsider, and they want to weaponize it. And the outsider, again, played by Josh Duhamel, doesn't want to be a part of it. So he hits the road. He's hiding out in a town in the South. And that company sends thugs after him to bring him back so they can plunder his brain for all the details to enable them to get, I don't know, some kind of contract from the government, create something dangerous and powerful. And, it was not great stuff. I was just, checking my watch. Even though I don't wear a watch, I was checking it as I was watching this thing. I wish it had been better. There are some interesting ideas behind this thing, but the action sequences are pretty flat. The performances seem phoned in. And, I can't really recommend Off the Grid. It is right now in select theaters and also streaming as well. Pony Boy is a much better bet in that regard. And also, I was a little disappointed with The Sound, which is meant to be The Sound, a horror thriller about rock climbers who are trying to scale this peak on sacred Native American land. But in fact, something dangerous lurks at the top of the peak, and it might endanger all of humanity if it's let loose. And, there are some lovely cinematography moments, and there is the climbing. And as they're climbing, you're thinking, I would never do this in a million years for $1 million.
Certainly not on native land. I mean, how many movies does one have to see about the bad things that happen when you're on native land?
Right.
But before you realize, as long as you're a climber, there are other things you can climb that are not on native land.
Well, the lead of this movie, Mark Hills, plays a guy named Sean, whose grandfather tried to climb this scale, this wall. And of course, it didn't go well for Granddad 63 years earlier. So he's kind of trying to
honor the memory of his
some kind of honor. I don't know. It's directed and written and produced by Brendan Devane. It does feature real, talented, I guess, world-class climbers in a number of the different roles. The acting is nothing to write home about. I wish it had been better. I always wish the movies were better, but unfortunately, The Sound disappointed the hell out of me. And we should move on to Sweet Relief, which is kind of a pretty decent horror movie of sorts, as teenagers play an online game in this small town where you got to murder somebody. These movies come along now and again. This is shot as kind of a mumblecore movie. I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but mumblecore movies are films that have long pauses and just people discussing things that seem irrelevant in a very naturalistic fashion, and then something interesting happens, and then there's another pause in the action as people talk. And honestly, the combination of that and a horror movie didn't really work for me. It wasn't terrible, mind you. It was kind of interesting, but some of the wooden performances took me out of it. And other than that, I mean, if you're a horror completist, it's not terrible. Again, Michael Snyder, not terrible. The Mark Thompson Show. Put it on the poster, right? Sweet Relief. It does feature some interesting ideas, again, how online culture can actually poison the community, and how easily malleable minds can be twisted up by this sort of peer pressure situation that results in kids killing one another or taking out their former babysitter, fill in the blank as to who the target might be. But I wasn't real crazy about Sweet Relief. Again, not bad, right? And kind of interesting. Written and directed by Nick Verdi. Showed a degree of promise, but God, I wish it had been better. Let's wrap up with a documentary.
By the way, I don't know, you used some word that was a ding word.
Sorry?
I forget what it was.
Are you looking for a ding word?
No, I know you did. I've forgotten. Malleable, that was it. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
There you go. Yeah, I attended the Mark Thompson meet and greet, and all I got was this ding word. Put it on a T-shirt. Okay, Enigma is a very good documentary on HBO Max that looks at the different lives of two, I would say, pioneering women in the trans movement. April Ashley, a British transsexual, and again, she denies that she is a transsexual, the disco queen, Amanda Lear. And this is done by a trans filmmaker named Zachary Drucker, who has also worked as an actress in TV shows like Transparent. And this is a fascinating archive footage-filled look at their lives, and also what it was like in the 40s and 50s and 60s to be trans, to be a transsexual. There is amazing documentary footage from the Carousel, which was one of the most world-renowned drag clubs in Paris, and the stuff is phenomenal. Backstage footage, on-stage footage. There's newsreel footage. There are interviews with April Ashley, and there is a long excerpted interview of Amanda Lear now in the south of France, done by filmmaker Zachary Drucker, where, she's very cagey about her background, but I thought this was a fascinating and, revealing look at what it was like for those people when they were confronting their sexuality and their identity as they were growing up, and what society was like towards them. And it does make me feel very uneasy about the SCOTUS ruling regarding LGBTQ issues in schools right now. To think that
the Parisians are just so much cooler about all of that stuff back then, right, in the 30s, and I just feel like the Europeans are just so much easier going. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but before you even said Paris and you were just describing the scene, I thought, oh, I bet it's Paris, and boom, you said Paris. You know what I mean?
It does deal with the fact that April Ashley was smeared massively when it was revealed that she was a transsexual, on the verge of divorce proceedings with a peer of the British aristocracy that she had fallen in with, and she bounced back, and what she did to regain her humanity and dignity helped the trans community, at least in the UK, in major ways, but it took years and years and years for that to happen. Wow. It's again on HBO Max. It's called Enigma. I thought it was very good.
Wow, we have done a lot today, even as we started late. You just heard about Enigma, 2 women in the trans movement focused upon in this documentary from Zachary, what's the last name? Drucker or Zucker?
Yeah, Zachary Drucker.
Drucker, yeah. Zachary Drucker, the director who is trans, an actress and director is trans. That documentary is on HBO Max, and Michael really liked it. Sweet Relief gets the Snyder frequently invoked not terrible. It's a horror film. It speaks to online culture. There's sort of a provocative premise and themes that are provocative, says Michael. From Nick Verdi, the director, it's not terrible.
No, it reminded me a little of Spike Jonze's low-budget films, but it didn't have that kind of art or compelling nature. But it's not terrible. I'm so sorry. It's the best I can come up with.
The sound is the horror thriller. The rock climbers climbing on sacred native land. I could have told them, don't do it. Don't climb on that native land.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
No, it's not going to work. Mark Hills, his grandfather tried to make this climb. They explain why they're doing it, but anyway, it's a horror thriller. And Michael Snyder says, nope. Off the Grid is a thriller starring Josh Duhamel and Greg Kinnear. Wooden performances closed in. What's that?
No, that Peter Stormare, who always plays a great villain, is the head of this company in San Francisco. He's got very little to do, just not a winner.
I love him. We have the same accountant. Select theaters is where you can find Off the Grid. It is also streaming. Pony Boy is the film that has the intersex lead character, River Gallo, with a bravura a performance, and that was a ding word used by Michael.
Yeah, it's a tour de force, Mark. It's a tour de force.
Crime thriller emerging in all of this. Dylan O'Brien, Murray Bartlett from White Lotus, a child of immigrants, and the problems with the intersex nature of the lead character, the crises there, but the crime thriller that emerges is in select theaters, and Pony Boy, Michael Snyder likes. Everything's Going to Be Great is the film with Bryan Cranston, Allison Janney, Macy Smart, Benjamin Evan Ainsworth plays the kid, and sadly, Michael says that this film, which is in select theaters, is a little bit on the lightweight side, even though there are such great performances or very good performances. Wasn't that essentially your view, Culture Blaster?
Yeah. I enjoyed watching it, but there's not all that much to it other than these wonderful performances.
F1 is where he started, and F1 is where we will finish. F1 with Brad Pitt, that hunky dude who's never looked better. And Javier Bardem.
Oh, you just woo.
Carrie Condon. Damson Idris. Joseph Kosinski, the director. It's a terrifically immersive experience, says Michael, in terms of the F1 footage and feeling as though you're in that world of F1, Formula One racing. But he doesn't love it. He felt that it was just not happening. And in that way, you'd say, go, maybe you'll enjoy it, but don't expect too much. Wouldn't you say that's fair?
It's like you're driving in the race. You're going in circles. We've been to this story innumerable times.
Seeing F1 Sunday, says Solon V.
It's like those Disney e-ticket rides. That's what it's like, and for that, it's really, really good.
You are an e-ticket ride. I wish we could ride longer, but we must go. You can find Michael on thevoicesf.org, I believe.
Yep.
You can find him here on Fridays, and he is the great Culture Blaster who comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
Happy Pride and go Giants.